everyone. My name is Eileen Vickery, and I am the Study Abroad and Global Engagement Advisor or SAGE Advisor at Cal State Fullerton. Welcome to one of our sessions. And so just for everyone's information, this session is being recorded. And so at this time, just go ahead and mute yourself so we don't have any background noise disrupting the presentation. Anyone with questions will be able to type them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them as we go along. And our recordings of all of our sessions during the Global Engagement Expo will be available on our Expo website, as well as on our on YouTube as well too. So we have that there as well. And so welcome. Okay. And so this special presentation, our Global Titan Pride SAGE information session for LGBTQIA plus Titans, is to help inform our students about all of the global opportunities that they have during their college experience, as well as after too. So let's jump in. And so I would like to say, konbanwa minasan. Watashi no namae wa Irene Bikuri desu. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. And so, hello, as I said, my name is Eileen Vickery. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am your Study Abroad and Global Engagement Advisor. A little bit about myself is that I am originally from the South Bay area. So Carson, Torrance, Lomita, that little fun cluster of little communities. So I'm local, and I usually like to say that I am CSU educated. I am a proud product of the CSU system. I got my bachelor's in English education at Cal State Long Beach, as well as my master's in counseling and higher education. And so my passion really is serving the students, because I was once one of you all as well. In terms of my personal study abroad experience, I studied abroad in London for a semester as an undergraduate on what is currently the HSS London Spring Semester and Internship Program. So it is a long running program, almost 20 years now. After college, I taught English in Japan for 5 years. On the JET program, I've traveled to about 25 countries now, including Egypt, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, El Salvador, India, and Cuba. And again, I'm passionate about helping CSU students, and I'll be leading the conversation on SAGE programs, but joining me today, I do want to introduce our special group of people, starting with Jack Hobson.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Jack Hobson. My pronouns are he, him, and I am the Senior Director of the Global Titan Center, which is the umbrella organization over the Office of Study Abroad and Global Engagement. And I've been at Cal State Fullerton for 6 years. I've been in the field of international education for almost 20, which is really hard to say. I studied at the University of Oklahoma many moons ago, but I got my first experience in global education there, studying abroad twice during my undergraduate, once in China and once in France. I ended up as a language major and then went into graduate school and did some studies in Mexico and my field work in Ethiopia and Senegal. I've been in the field for a long time and am grateful every day that I get to do a job that not only pays the bills, but makes me feel whole and fulfilled as a person. So thank you for being here. Oh, and also I too am a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, and I'm grateful to have that overlap in my life.
Thank you, Jack. We'll bring it on over to Gerard. Gerard, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Gerard Avellino. I'm currently a PhD student in linguistics here at Rutgers University. I graduated from Cal State Fullerton in 2019 with a BA in linguistics and French. And that last year of my experience at Fullerton was actually studying abroad in Paris. I am also a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, and I'm very happy to be here and answer anybody's questions about studying abroad and being a member of this community while studying abroad.
Awesome. Thank you, Gerard, so much. And the special person we have to thank for organizing this awesome event is Isaac. Isaac, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yes, thank you. My name's Isaac, pronouns he, they, and I've been trying to study abroad for about 2 years now, since fall 2019. And unfortunately, every single time, because of COVID, I have been unable to, but I plan to and hopefully study abroad this upcoming spring semester in Japan. And it's my 4th year and last year at CSUF. So next semester will be my last opportunity to do so at this university, and majoring in political science and minoring in Japanese and Spanish. I hope to either become a US diplomat or ambassador in the future.
Wonderful. Our communities, our global Titan community is so full of wonderful individuals. I love that you shared that that's what your future career and projection is. Awesome. So let's kick it off as well. So a little bit about today's session. So overview, objective, and outcomes. And so in this info session, we're going to cover just some basic and general study abroad and global or SAGE information to help you on your SAGE journey. But definitely the point of this session is going to be discussing considerations, topics, and resources that help and support our LGBTQ plus global Titans on their SAGE programs and answer any questions that students may have. And we'll definitely hear from our panel. And so the goal here that we always try to aim for is to help every student, all students feel encouraged and supported to participate in a global experience. And we have a lot of them, which we'll talk about, whether it's actually abroad, here on campus, or virtual and online, like our Expo right now. And so at the end of this info session, you're going to be able to learn about the different options available to you, whether now or even after you graduate, because COVID is making it hard for our students to study abroad, but there's always things you can do after. Next steps following this info session, as well as who to reach out to for support and resources, and more about SAGE programming and opportunities. And so I'm going to drop a link in the chat, and it's a link to our advising Dropbox. So sometimes there might be a flyer that you can check out, and we've got that, and so you can follow that along. These are flyers I would give to you if you were in my office and I was advising you in person. And so here we go. So a little bit about why SAGE. Why do we call ourselves SAGE? So we did transform our name during the summer of the pandemic, just from study abroad to study abroad and global engagement. That's where our trajectory was for a really long time, because we were adding so many programs that didn't quite fit the bill, as we know about like labels and how to describe things. And so there is traditional study abroad, which will never go in. That's what people think of, which is I'm taking a class, I'm crossing international borders. So I'm going to another country, and it's either a semester or a summer. And a lot of our programs are in that category, but we also offer what we consider our global engagement suite. So these include programs that are actually study away, not necessarily study abroad, where you might be taking an internship in Washington, D.C., or technically studying abroad over the summer in Puerto Rico, which is not a country, but it's a territory. And so you start to see different types of programs. We also do internships, which is slightly different from study abroad programs where you're taking courses. We now offer volunteer programs where you're not taking any course. And then also we've added virtual programs too. We also have free programs you can do locally. So there's a bunch. And so as Jack said, so he's our senior director of our Global Titan Center. It is the unit on campus that houses both the International Student Services, so ISS, so students from around the world coming to Cal State Fullerton, as well as our SAGE office, where usually students are going out into the world in some capacity. And why we really like SAGE is that, what does it describe? It's an adjective, it's a noun. It describes people who are wise, usually through reflection and experience you've lived, and it just makes you a wiser person, or you're sagacious and you have good judgment, which all comes from experience. And I think some of the best experience you can have are global experiences. Okay. This is a lot of text, but I need to go through it because regardless of who you are, there are so many myths, excuses, fears, and preconceived notions about what it's like to participate on SAGE, especially one where my man Homer is like, it's expensive, or people think it is. And that's a big one that can put off a lot of students, unfortunately. Unfortunately, what they don't know is that studying abroad or doing SAGE programs becomes more and more affordable each day. We have a wide range of programs, whether it's a week-long program or a semester program. You can pay CSU tuition. Sometimes it's a volunteer program where you don't have to pay tuition, or it's a free program that you can participate here on campus. There's a wide range, and there's more than one way to get your global experience on. And some people think that, especially maybe our loved ones, our parents, our guardians, our friends, our bosses, coworkers might think studying abroad is not serious, and or that it's a vacation, or that it's frivolous, it's an extra, it's a nice to have, but it's not a must have. And that can't be further from the truth. There is real value added to your education when you participate in a program like SAGE, and it really should be looked at as an investment in your education, and one that offers a lot of return on that investment from when you study abroad to when you come back. It's an experience that many of us believe has paid us more than what we paid to go on our programs, many times over. Okay, common things like, will it delay my graduation? Not really, especially depending on the programs that you choose, whether it's volunteer, if you do course mapping on our programs. And we offer a wide selection of programs that you can take, whether it's for your major, minor, GEs, and electives, or like I said, volunteer programs, your internships. Some students think, I'll just do it later. It's like, when? You know what I mean? As some of us who are professionals in graduate school, parents, when are you going to find that same amount of time to take off for a semester for 3 months to do you, and to continue your education at the same time? You can always do a global program later as well, like I did when I taught on the JET program, but sometimes it does get harder. It's never too late, but it can get a little harder. So take advantage of the time that you have now. Students feel like, especially when they see some of our program options, they think, I don't speak that language, I can't go there. A common one is South Korea. A lot of our classes are taught in English, or they're also programs for if you're just starting to learn out a language. And so we have options for both. I can't study abroad for a year or a semester. Again, we offer week-long programs as well. Or it's too difficult with my major. And again, see number 3, where we have a lot of other program options. So the thing is, we offer diverse programs, as diverse as the students that we serve. There's a lot of students with different considerations, and we try to meet those every year by adding to our programs. If you have situations or circumstances that keep you from traveling internationally, again, we do study away programs. Virtual programs are up and coming, and our students who do our virtual programs do enjoy them. We have students who return for multiple virtual experiences because they did find it enjoyable and worthwhile. We also have a great program called the Global Titan Buddy Program, where really the main requirement is that you've been, in a sense, a Cal State Fullerton student for at least a semester. So, first semester freshmen and transfer students, that might be hard because you're just learning about Cal State Fullerton yourself. But if you are a buddy, you're being paired with an international student who's studying abroad at Cal State Fullerton, and you get to have that global experience through them. Some people think that it's not safe, especially during COVID right now. I would like to say that we, especially as Cal State Fullerton and the SAGE office, have exceptionally high risk management standards and practices, and our approval processes for anything is quite rigorous. We also offer travel insurance for our students on our programs, as well as local and on-site support. And that we've covered the it's too late option. And also some of our programs, we do allow alumni to join too, especially because of COVID. COVID has derailed it for so many of our students that we're going to have alumni options, and that they just don't, maybe it's not for me. I hear a lot of students say that until they have a classmate, a roommate, a friend who did it, and then they decide it's for them. So I always tell students, whatever reason you can give me, I can give you 3 more why you should. So that's just one reason there. Another text-heavy slide, but just as equal as important, is why should LGBTQ plus students study abroad? What do they have to gain from this? So it's really a long list because of all the things that all students will benefit from, but also students of this community can also see in themselves in their unique experiences when they're doing global experiences. So study abroad is identified as a high impact practice in higher education. It's just as effective as internships and research when it comes to student success and retention. It helps build career readiness competencies, things like critical thinking, communication, technology, leadership, professionalism. You gain life and transferable skills. A lot of the times for our students who have been commuters like myself living at home, this is the first time they're going to cook for themselves. And so they're going to learn all of these things. Financial planning is a big one for our students. This is the first time they've really planned on a long-term goal. They have to save or plan and budget and pinch and fundraise and sometimes apply for scholarships and loans. So our students put in the work to make this happen. You get organizational skills because none of that happens without you having some form of organization. A lot of the students that come back see differences in themselves. They become more independent, they're confident, they're mature, self-aware, and more complex. They learn to build empathy because they've learned to kind of live through other people and gain other people's perspectives. They're more compassionate, hospitable because when you study abroad, you will receive kindness like you've never known sometimes. And that's why students who study abroad often become buddies, because they want to pay that kindness back. Our students who study abroad become masters at navigating uncertainty and the unknown and having to be flexible and adaptable, which is a very, very under not valued, because it is, but we don't talk about that much in the world of professionalism. And that is so important. Exposure to career opportunities. When you engage with us, you get linked to opportunities most people don't find out about. Lifelong friendships, seeing the world, learning different cultures, practicing foreign languages, but also then on top of that, learning about yourself, learning about your identity, understanding your sexuality more, gaining perspective, connecting, and sometimes becoming maybe more political active in terms of social movements, fighting for sexual rights worldwide, as Isaac has shared, in wanting to be an ambassador. Dispelling stereotypes, sometimes others and your own, and then viewing sexuality in the US from different perspectives and having those conversations. And that's just some of them. There's so much to gain. All right. And a little bit about us and our contact information. So you can find all of our information on our website, extension.fullerton.edu/study abroad. You can contact us at sabroad@fullerton.edu. And then our phone number is 657-278-2787. And we are in the Global Titan Center next to Troy Hall, across from the TSU. So we are operating primarily virtually, but this is our contact information anytime you want to get in touch with us. We have a lot of social media options. You can follow us on Facebook at CSUF Study Abroad. Instagram is our main platform at the moment, at Titans Abroad. We do a lot of updates and promotions on our website, on our Instagram account, free classes, scholarships. We have a Discord channel now where we kind of try to chat with each other, especially during the pre-departure session, so you already build your community before you go. A lot of our recordings are on our playlist, just to mention a few. And again, I am your study abroad and global engagement advisor. I will be helping you on your journey, but I also have a wonderful team with me. So my associate director is here, Cherie. You've met Jack, our wonderful senior director. This is me. Abigail Segura is our programs lead, who works primarily with faculty lead, but that's not all she does. She does a lot of things like coordinate today's expo, and Juim Kim works a little alongside, in between ISS and SAGE, welcoming international students who are here studying abroad at Cal State Fullerton. And so I can assist you with your study abroad and global engagement questions. I'm also the supervisor for the Global Titan Ambassadors. So these are volunteers who've done SAGE programs who want to help the SAGE office promote study abroad experiences. I'm also the IP coordinator, which is a type of program which we'll talk about, the Gilman and Critical Language Scholarship Advisor, and usually the coordinator for our International Education Week. All right, this is a lot, but this is the part where students want to know, what are my options? What's out there? And it's easy once we break it down. So we've already covered what study abroad and global engagement means, the traditional study abroad programs for credit versus everything else. And really, the programs get to be divided in two groups. Are they a CSU, CSUF program, or are they not a CSUF program? So CSU, CSUF programs include the CSU, so all 23 campuses, the international program. So these are semester and year-long programs at foreign universities. Cal State Fullerton also partners with different universities abroad under our reciprocal exchange programs. Our faculty sometimes teach Cal State Fullerton classes on department programs, and usually those are the shorter term programs like summer or winter, because not all faculty can take a whole semester abroad and teach classes, so those are usually the shorter programs. We also tend to run volunteer programs out of our office, like, for example, our spring break in the Dominican Republic and winter session in Cuba, so we've done that. And the benefits of doing these programs are, if you are taking classes, you are paying CSU tuition. And so I have students abroad right now for fall 2021 who are in Italy, who are in Germany, who are in South Korea, in Ghana, who paid the same tuition as you, be abroad. And also, they get to use their financial aid, their state and federal aid, whether it's loans or grants. Additionally, they have the ability to earn resident units, meaning it's going to show up on their transcript like they took the classes at Cal State Fullerton. If we don't have something for you under this category, there are non-CSUF options. This gives you the entire world. So students who want to study fashion in Milan, iguanas in the Galapagos, volcanoes in the, I've heard it all. We don't have those programs, but we can find a program for you. The only thing is you'll be paying their tuition and fees. There's limitations on the financial aid. You can only use federal aid and you will be earning more transfer units. But if those are okay with you, the world is your oyster. All right. We haven't even touched on virtual programs yet. So this is an emerging trend that happened during the pandemic. And so this is kind of us making lemonade out of lemons. So what happened when everything shut down? Well, virtual programs went up, but our students do enjoy them and they are worthwhile. There's a quote that I like from Forbes that said, even if you can't show up in person, you can still show up ready to learn, grow, be a professional, and get that kind of experience that we're going to need, because the pandemic is still here and it's changed the way we work. So we're still able to get those kind of modern professional skills through an experience like this. They're often really affordable, and a lot of our exchange programs tend to offer free classes, which we announce on Instagram. So lots of opportunities there, especially internships. Okay, how do I apply? Whatever program, whether it's the exchanges, the departments, the virtual, you always apply on our portal. It's as easy as that. And so there's different application requirements for each, and I'll be able to walk you through each one, but it starts on our portal. All right, when it comes to taking financial aid with you, I mentioned that there are certain programs where you can take your financial aid with you. And 60% of our Cal State Fullerton students are on some form of financial aid. So this is a big one. And so it's important to always fill out your FAFSA each and every year, whether you plan on studying abroad or not. And so the priority deadline is March 2nd. The earlier you apply, the more opportunity to get grants and funding and things like that. You can always apply after, but first come, first serve. Okay, we talked about which programs you can use state and federal aid for and which ones you can't. And the other thing too about working a work study, federal work study, is that you really can't do that when you're abroad, because in most cases you're not working. So those are just some things to know about financial aid, but our students are able to take a significant chunk of their financial aid with them when they do SAGE programs. Scholarships, scholarships, scholarships. If I can redo anything from my study abroad experience, I would have applied for a scholarship. And so I really push these. There are many kinds. There are need-based scholarship. If you are a Pell Grant recipient, the Gilman is one I highly recommend you apply for. We had 30 students accepted to study abroad and 1 in 4 got the Gilman. That is a quarter of our percent. And the average payout for a semester was $4,000. Isaac and our team here was a recipient of the Gilman, so he can talk about that as well. Colleges and departments have their own scholarships, location-based scholarships, program-based, as well as LGBTQ. The Rainbow Scholarship, my man Gerard received the FEA, the Rainbow Scholarship for the FEA, which was it $10,000, Gerard, for a year?
Yeah, for the entire year, $10,000.
Yeah.
Was crazy.
Yeah. So we actually have a session on the FEA scholarship on Friday at noon, and Gerard's going to be joining me for that. But there are resources out there. And if you're doing those CSU, CSUF programs, if you are a Guardian Scholar, if you are a Presidential Scholar, if you are receiving other scholarships, you can apply those too. So money, money. All right. Lots of next steps. The main one I want to emphasize for this group, so I will walk you through these. We're running out of time, but the main thing I want to emphasize for our LGBTQ plus Titans is to research your destination. And that comes from knowing a little bit about the attitudes, what are the laws, and what's the climate like. And so that is something that I can help navigate and talk you through, but that's going to be a lot of legwork that you also need to do. But we also have our panel who will be able to discuss some of their experiences in just a moment. But the main thing I emphasize right now in your next steps is look into the countries you want to go to. Okay, I can always help you with the other stuff, but researching the location, that's a big one you'll need to do. In terms of advising and special consideration, so I'm always available for advising. You can book a session with me off of our website. Advising currently is through Zoom meetings for 30-minute sessions. I also have drop-ins every 8:30 to 10:30 on Friday mornings, and that's usually more in a group setting, so I don't have a lot of people in the waiting room. And when it comes to SAGE programs for our LGBTQ plus Titans, here are some things that I've seen in the research that I've come across when advising students, and that is the question of do you be out while you're in your location? And that's something that you're going to have to decide for yourself. I was with a student on a program, and while they were in terms of dress more comfortable on Cal State on the campus expressing themselves, while we were on a location, they might have had to downplay a little bit more than they would have chosen to, but that was a choice that they made in participating in the program. And they also think the other thing too is when it comes to program selection, we also consider safety and what is your on-site support like, housing and accommodations. We've helped a lot of students with diverse needs in terms of partnering with roommates, having roommates or no roommates, homestay options, and what that reception is like, medical needs, and then studying abroad as a trans student. And so we have helped students study abroad on these programs. And it's just the best way I can help you is to have a conversation and let me know what your needs are so I can contact the right people. I'm still learning everything myself, but I do consider myself there to be part of your journey. And so that concludes my section. We can talk about this some more, but the main people we need to be hearing from, and I want to hear how what I've talked about has been mirrored in your own experiences. And so now we're going to hear from Jack and Gerard and Isaac. So thank you.
I'll just say a couple of things. I will say several things that you've said, Eileen, resonated with my own experiences, both as a study abroad professional, but also in my own study abroad life experiences. And it's that whole notion of kind of code shifting. I think a lot of LGBTQ plus folks are exceedingly adept at reading a room and code shifting. And I state that neutrally because there's times where we, feel like we shouldn't have to code shift, but we also know how to do that. And so I think that that is a needle that we have to thread when thinking about queer identity in the international context. And it's something that I, at 45 years old, still do, domestically and internationally. And my experiences have been very broadly positive. But there are times where I'm sure I consciously to subconsciously shift based on environment. And I think that's just part of the topography of global education intersecting with queer identity. That's my statement. Colleagues?
Thank you for saying code switching, because that was the word that I was looking for. So thank you, Jack. Anybody else?
Yeah, I completely agree with the concept of code switching because personally in my own life, I'm out to certain people and certain people I'm not out yet. And so when I'm in an environment where I'm with people, family members or friends or next to people that do know my identity and others that don't know my identity, I have to kind of keep it hidden. And I've always been out in school, work, and sometimes people kind of passive aggressively let me know that they're not comfortable with it. And so trying to find that balance of being out and proud of myself, but also trying to maneuver sometimes microaggressions that happen at school or in the workplace and in life in general.
Absolutely. Thank you, Isaac.
I think, yeah, absolutely. These are very important things that we as queer people do have to think about whenever we travel, not just internationally, but even within our own country. We have to think about these things. But at the same time, I think we should also keep in mind that we're all more similar than we might think we are, especially when you go abroad and you think, oh, they're speaking something, they're speaking a different language, they have different cultural values. But in the end, everybody has that point where you can agree with each other, you can feel comfortable in some way, and wherever you are around the world, there will always be some sort of LGBTQ community too. Um, and it's only a matter of finding it. And, especially, I mean, it's a lot easier in Western countries. I know it wasn't difficult to find other queer people in France, for example, or throughout Europe when I traveled. Um, but even in countries where it might not be um, as acceptable, for example, I'm from the Philippines originally, and there's always this big conflict whether LGBTQ people should be out and open or whether they should be repressed. But there is still a very vibrant queer community there that you can find. So it's just about, just like here at home, you find your own community. When you go abroad to do these programs, you'll also find that community where you can be yourself, you can be comfortable with who you are. And the study abroad office is there to help. The people who run your program are there to help. You'll always have classmates with you too. So if it's a matter of finding people to relate to, people to have a community with, that's not going to be too much of a problem, I think. It's going to be something, it might be a challenge in the beginning, but it'll come through.
One thing that I would like to follow up on that you said, Gerard, which is really helpful, is when it comes to being an advisor and an ally to our LGBTQ plus students who want to do a SAGE program. One thing that you will never get from me is I will never push you towards a particular program based on that's stereotyping, right? And so as an advisor, I offer you the main menu like I did here. It's like, here's everything. What do you like? Because something that I have seen in sessions and something that I've heard from colleagues in research is that, yeah, a lot of the times our perception is that the safe LGBTQ plus countries are the European ones or the white ones, right? And the brown ones are not safe. And that's not like as you said, that's not necessarily true. And we can't paint countries either positively or negatively in broad brushes. It also depends on you and what your goals are. And if you're trying to spread awareness and build community and find that you're not going to necessarily do that in a country where that's already the case, right? You don't grow that way. And so as your advisor and your ally, I let you drive where you want to go. And I go by what your goals and what your priorities are and not whatever perceptions I have. So that's something that came to mind as you were speaking. So thanks, Gerard. And so I think one thing that I would like to ask our panel is a few things. So first question is, what advice would you give to members of the community in embarking on a SAGE program, whether it's just looking it up, going, being there, coming back? And what is something that you enjoyed particularly about the programs that you did, or in the research that you've done? I know you're going to go abroad and you will go abroad someday, but COVID is kind of in the way right now. But Jack?
So something that I would say that to consider, I would encourage everyone to at least come for a quick advising session at the very beginning. I promise you, we don't take your credit card number. There's no charge to just come in and talk. And so one of the things that Eileen and I and others in the office, when we were doing some of our conversations about assessments, and the conversation came up about like, well, what do we want students to walk away with? And the word that came to my mind and continues to come to my mind is possibility. We want our students to come away with the idea of like, I can do this. And if I do this, this also opens up doors for more possibilities. And I think queer folk, and I say this for myself, and it has evolved over time, but I think queer folk often tend to open certain doors, not open other doors, and close certain doors. And so I would say, think about the possibility of this before you decide the doors. And I would say something that I've learned, to answer your other question, is to Gerard's point, I have met queer people everywhere, all over the world, in places that by my own stereotypical perceptions would not be present. It's present. We are everywhere. And there is something wonderfully intimate and personal about meeting queer folk, and the overlap of our experiences is both positive and negative, is very much community building. And that's something that I really relish no matter where I've been. So that's my
Thank you.
thoughts.
Thank you, Jack. Gerard?
The biggest piece of advice I could give is definitely apply for those scholarships. I had so much peace of mind in Paris because I had those scholarships. Actually, what the interesting thing is, those scholarships were great, but I was reaching the end of my second semester, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm still here for a couple more months. I might have to budget a bit more. And then Juim emails me saying that we've chosen you to get this other scholarship, the French Embassy Scholarship Award. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. So it just basically made my experience so much better because I didn't have such a, I didn't have as many constraints to my budget as I expected to have. And I was able to use a lot of that. I was using money for school, and then the extra money I had, I was able to travel more. So my experience was limited to just Paris or France. I was able to go lots of places. And I think the biggest bonus of that is that I was able to go to Greece, and that's where I met my current husband. So yeah, I think one of the best things about, going to the second question, one of the best things about studying abroad is getting to meet all these people that you would never have met otherwise. I have met lifelong friends wherever I've been, not just people who are in my program, people who are running the program. I'm friends with the people who run MISEFA. But yeah, friends everywhere. And a lot of them are also LGBTQIA plus people. And there's always something that keeps us all together when we're in this community. And it's always great to find out, hey, what's going on over there? What's different about your life as a queer person in, the UK versus in France versus in Italy? And it's just, I don't know, I think study abroad just changed my life in so many different subtle ways and big ways that, yeah, it's just go do it. If you can do it, just go do it. Apply for scholarships because it'll give you a lot of peace of mind, but do it for sure.
And one thing I wanted to mention about Isaac is while we're waiting and hoping to send Isaac out into the world as well, he has taken advantage of our virtual programs as well. He's been a buddy. He's taken advantage of our online opportunities with our exchange partners doing language tasters and things like that. He's been a very engaged person in our office as well. So you can also speak to that in terms of tips, Isaac, if you'd like, or just what the process has been. As you said, you've been doing this for 2 years. You can probably teach the process almost as good as I can at this point. So Isaac, what tips do you have, and what have you gained from some of the local or free programs that you've done so far?
Well, since I haven't studied abroad physically in another country yet, I hope to, as Aline has said. But I've done, like, for example, the buddy program, and the buddy that I had was from Indonesia, and we had some kind of a conflict, but not serious, in that he wasn't aware of my sexuality. And with him being from Indonesia and still living in Indonesia, because he couldn't travel to CSUF to study here in person because most classes are still virtual online. Last semester, and it took some talking with them to kind of open his mind a bit, because it's both the Titan Bunny program was meant for CSCS students that have spent more than a semester on campus to show international students what life is like in US and especially in Southern California. And so this is like, and also for buddies such as myself to kind of understand and comprehend other cultures besides my own. And so with the Tidy Buddy program, I understood what he was coming from, and to not kind of shut people out whenever something that happens, but kind of get them to understand where both for me to understand where they're coming from and also for them to understand where I'm coming from. And we started getting along, and he became comfortable and his mind open and learned that being gay or queer, trans isn't something that's shameful. And he went through like this kind of process of unlearning the stereotypes that he learned and due to the environment that he grew up in, which is no fault of his own. And especially some experience of having to apply for do a secondary application with the CSUF exchange programs with Nazan University in Japan. Like there's this kind of idea in the back of my head where if I apply and I tell them outspokenly that I'm gay, that I kind of have some apprehension that what if me telling them that I'm gay will kind of negatively affect my opportunities of being accepted. But then I learned and did my research about Nanzan University and that they have a rainbow, like a queer housing opportunities
Yes,
on
they do.
campus, and which is amazing. And sometimes when you're applying to countries or locations that may not be queer friendly on the surface, the university you're applying to may actually be queer friendly, and the attitudes of the local area, the local city may also be queer friendly. So you may be able to find pockets of being able to feel accepted in your location.
One really good thing, especially broaching back onto postgraduate opportunities, I have a story. So I did JET, as I mentioned. I did it for 5 years. And while I was there, I had a friend, Nate, and he left and then he enrolled in a PhD program and he got accepted into the Fulbright, which is a postgraduate opportunity. And he decided that as part of his research in his doctoral program, he applied to the Fulbright to do his research in Japan, which centered on the LGBTQ community in Japan. And so the Fulbright is a graduate opportunity. There's different types of awards. You can teach English with it. You can, it can give you a stipend to do research in another country. And so, that's just something that is open to all of our students. Gerard currently is a PhD student. Isaac, you might want to, especially down the career path you're hoping to do. If you find yourself in a graduate program, there's all of these things that you can do. So just to kind of plug that in. Jack, did you want to say something? You look like you wanted to say.
No, I just got very excited.
Yeah. And so we are a little over time. This has been fantastic. I want to make sure that we all shared in providing information, resources, my presence here, your presence has been here. Thank you so much for sharing your authentic, lived, beautiful stories. And then this final slide is all about just there's more than study abroad. There are those global engagement opportunities, and we are trying to build this global Titan community through our virtual programs, like Isaac has been saying, the internships, our Global Engagement Expo, which is going on this week. We have them every semester in September and then again in the spring and February. IEW, or International Education Week, is right around the corner in November. We have that Global Titans Buddy program that Isaac was a part of, that you all can be part of. If you do a global program, you can also be an ambassador where you volunteer in our office to do info sessions, interviews, events, things like that. There's an honor society called Phi Beta Delta, which is open to anybody, international students, faculty, anybody with a global background. And then again, those postgraduate opportunities, a lot of them are going to be present at the Expo. Peace Corps, JET, Fulbright, graduate student degrees abroad, and more. So as we like to say, get involved. So that wraps it up for me today. And for all of our panelists, thank you for a wonderful job. So arigatou gozaimashita. And so thank you everybody for this wonderful event, and especially to Isaac for coordinating. Awesome. All right.